At the outer door of Qingyun sect, Lin Tianyi lowered his head and slugged the fallen leaves on the ground, and his sweat slid down his head. He was just an ordinary misfortune disciple and had become accustomed to such a humble life at a young age. The disciples in the sect were busy cultivating their wombs. They carried buckets and cleaned up mists every day, and occasionally had to endure the ridicule of those geniuses in the sect. Today's sun was particularly dazzling, reminding him of the scene when he was bullied by those people from Li Badian last night. They humiliated him because he accidentally hit their way. Lin Tianyi held the broom tightly and felt a sense of unwillingness in his heart, but the setbacks over the years had already tortured his vitality. He told himself that the path to cultivation of immortality is already difficult, and as long as you survive, you will always have a day to come. Suddenly, a slight wind blew in, revealing a dark ancient jade from the haystack. Lin Tianyi didn't take it to heart, but when he lifted it up with his hand, he found that the jadeite was unusual and had strange runes engraved on the surface. He originally wanted to hand it over to the elder of the clan, but at the moment he held it, a sensational light burst out from the sea of his brain. A mysterious energy surged into his body like a tide, and a faint sound echoed in his ears. Check the host, Lin Tianyi. Activate the infinite times of cultivation system. Function 1, learn skills in seconds. Function 2, double the combat force. The system has been set and ready to go. Lin Tianyi was stunned, and a translucent panel appeared in front of him, showing his attributes: cultivation to level, tempering the body, body quality, ordinary, talent, mediocre. What exactly is this system? Is it God's gift? Or some kind of curse? Without thinking too much, he heard the system's indifferent prompt: the host can choose skill learning. The basic technique gathering the gathering has been released, and the learning time is 0 seconds. Are you sure? His heartbeat accelerated. Lin Tianyi took a deep breath and pointed to confirm. In an instant, a warm current surged from the dantian, and the way of moving and gathering the gathering was as clear as engraved in the sea of brain. He felt the spirit flowing in his body, and the obstacles from the past collapsed instantly. In the past, it took him half a year to enter the quenching layer. Now, this force is like a flood, allowing his veins to automatically move forward. In less than a moment, Lin Tianyi felt the spirit in his body condense into a stream, breaking through the bottle that was quenched 1 layer, and directly lifting it to the 3 layers of quenched 1 layer. What's going on? Lin Tianyi stood up and tried to see the spirit inside the movement. The second function of the system is activated. The war force multiplication mode is activated. Current multiplication, 10 times. The host attack power is increased. He punched the stone beside him, and the fist carried Ling Yan's air, smashing the stone to pieces. In the past, he could not smash even a single piece of ordinary stone, but now it is easy to do it. This force made him feel excited, and his grievances over the years turned into raging fire. He recalled Li Badian's ridicule. The genius who relied on his family background always bullied the weak. Lin Tianyi clenched his fists and thought to himself, this time, he wanted to prove himself. In order not to attract attention, Lin Tianyi decided to test more abilities in a secret place first. He slipped into the dense forest of the back mountain, which was a rare place for cultivation for disciples from outside. He chose a more advanced basic skill, Shadow Step. The system prompts, skill learning is confirmed. Completed in seconds. His steps suddenly became light, like a shadow in the wind, and moved several feet away in a few steps. Lin Tianyi laughed loudly, feeling too fast. He only needed one thought to do the skills that geniuses could master after practicing hard for several months. After the test was late at night, Lin Tianyi's cultivation was already stable at 5 levels of quenching. When he recalled the competition of the sect, the geniuses in the inner gate were always dazzling, and he could only watch from the corner. Now, everything is different. The system's combat power doubled so that every move he had destructive power. He could even simulate the battle and easily defeat those opponents who had once suppressed him. Lin Tianyi wiped off the sweat from his head and felt the surging spirit in his body. This is not only an improvement of strength, but also a change in his mind and nature. He once thought he was born mediocre, but now he understands that the opportunity is always reserved for those who are ready. It was getting brighter and Lin Tianyi returned to the outside door to continue his slaughter work, but he had a new plan in his mind. The daily training of the sect is about to begin, and he decided to quietly show his strength in the next opportunity. From slaughter to genius, in just one step, he could not wait to see the shocking expressions of those people. After cleaning up the last pile of fallen leaves, he straightened up and looked at the mountain gate of the sect, where there was the starting point for countless immortal cultivators, and for him, this was just a brand new beginning. Tomorrow, he will face the challenge with a new look. After Lin Tianyi returned to the outside world, he continued his daily troubles and could no longer suppress the storm that surged in his heart. Those inner geniuses who once considered him as invisible, mocking and bullying memories pierced into the brain like sharp thorns. He knew that a pure tolerance was not enough to change one's fate. Taking advantage of the tranquility afternoon, he quietly left the military area and stepped into the dense forest of the back mountain. The woodland was hidden and deep, with few people rushing, and it happened to be the perfect place for him to try to embrace new powers. As soon as he stepped into the forest, Lin Tianyi stepped out of the system panel. The translucent interface appeared before my eyes, showing his current state. He had cultivated into 5 levels of quenching, and his body was already stable. He took a deep breath and decided to challenge higher skills first. The system's second learning function is like an invisible key, which can instantly unpack any repair door. He recalled his experience the night before and selected the advanced version of Style Shadow. This technique can only be achieved through months of hard work, but it is simply a simple command to him. System, learn speedy way, he said lightly. In an instant, a clear energy burst out from his body, pouring into his veins like a storm sweeping across the valley. The method of the Dharma is clearly formed in the sea of brain, and the details of each step are as familiar as instinctively. Lin Tianyi smiled slightly and tried the skill of moving. His figure suddenly turned into a vague shadow, moving across the forest, and the airflow brought by the leaves was shook lightly. He shuttled through several times, so fast that he could hardly see the shadows. This feeling of control made it difficult to speak quickness in his heart. Not satisfied with this, he turned his eyes to attacking the technology. In the classics of the sect, breaking the sky palm is regarded as the top choice of disciples in the quenching stage. It can tear the air with palm power and produce an attack that is beyond the reach of Lingji. In the past, this door palm technique belonged only to those outstanding inner door elites. System, learn breaking the sky palm. As soon as the voice fell, a heat flowed from the dantian and pushed his arms straight into his arms. The rotation method of the palm technique was engraved into his mind like a brand. Lin Tianyi raised his palm and moved his spirit smoothly. A group of invisible air condensed in the palm of his palm. With a low explosion, he suddenly rushed towards an ancient tree beside him. The air cuts out like a sharp blade, tearing a deep mark on the tree and scattering 4 pieces of wood chips. He was stunned for a moment and immediately activated the war multiplication mode. System, start the war multiplication. The current multiplication is 10 times. The power increased instantly, and his second palm directly rushed out, and his palm was swept like a craze. The whole ancient tree fell down and the debris scattered in the forest. This devastating power made Lin Tianyi stunned. In the past, he had enough energy to move stone blocks, and now he could easily shake giant trees. He tried several times in succession, and each attack was filled with a destructive impact, and the spirit flow in his body became more and more stable. The bottle of the 6-layer quenching layer quietly collapsed during this process. In just a few moments, he broke through to the 7-layer quenching layer, and his spirit ran like a river. In order to verify the comprehensiveness, Lin Tianyi chose a huge rock as his goal. The stone block was more than 2 people tall, with a rough and hard surface. On weekdays, even the inner disciples needed to work together to shake it. He took a deep breath and started the war again, and his palm technique perfectly combined with his body technique. His body flashed to the stone like a storm, and a palm came out, and the air of breaking the sky palm exploded into a violent torrent as it doubled. The rocks exploded in an instant, and the pieces scattered, shaking the birds in the forest and fled. This scene made Lin Tianyi clench his fist involuntarily, and the surging power in his body turned into an invisible passion. He understood that this was not only an advance of real power, but also a return to the humiliation of the past. The night was getting deeper, and Lin Tianyi sat on a flat stone in the forest, regulating the spirit inside his body. On the system panel, his attributes have become earth-shaking. He has cultivated to 7 levels of quenching and has a full skill mastery. He recalled the various rules of the sect. The outer door trial was coming soon. It was an open martial arts competition where disciples could show their strength and fight for the opportunity to be promoted to the inner door. In the past, he only dared to look at the corner, but now he has different thoughts. Those geniuses who once mocked him, like Li Badian, who relied on his background, always suppressed others with a superior attitude. This time, he wants to let them see what real power is. Lin Tianyi stood up, patted off the dust on his sleeve, and decided to register for the trial. It is not for proof to others, but for your own rebirth. He imagined the shock at that moment in the competition, and the bullying that had been passed would turn into the ladder to his rise. Of course, he also understood that the challenge had just begun, and there was a larger world of cultivation outside the sect, but at present, this move was enough to be a key. The next morning, Lin Tianyi returned to the outside door and continued his misfortune mission, which was a different state of mind. The sound of the zodiac signs, announcing the beginning of daily training. He silently joined the team, waiting for the arrival of the trial. Those geniuses were still showing off their power in their circles, and they were quietly swaying the storm that was about to explode. As time goes by, with a hidden power, waiting for the next climax to arrive. Lin Tianyi arrived at the outer gate to try the hall early, and the vast stone platform was already covered by hot disciples. The bell beat, announcing the official start of the competition, and a passionate breath filled the air. Geniuses from all walks of life came on stage, showing their exquisite moves, and competing for the qualifications of being promoted to the inner door. He silently lined up for registration, glanced over the crowd, and quickly locked Li Badian. The guy was talking with the people, with a handsome smile hanging on the corner of his mouth, as if he had already seen this trial as his belongings. When he arrived at Lin Tianyi, the host glanced at him and bowed slightly. Underground troops? Want to be hot? There were a few laughs from the surrounding area, but Lin Tianyi seemed to be invisible and reported his name and stepped aside. A determined determination surged in his heart, and this competition would be a stage to prove everything. Soon, the draw result came out and he was arranged to fight against Li Badian. As soon as the news spread, the crocs were blown up at the scene. Li Badian is against that waste? Isn't this looking for abuse? The mocking voices came one after another, and Li Badian walked in with great strides, his eyes full of fun. Boy, do you remember the feeling of being stepped on by me last time? Li Badian curled his lips and waved his hand to signal the followers to retreat. Today I will let you know the difference between genius and troubling. Lin Tianyi did not respond, but just stood still, and the spirit in his body had quietly moved. He came out of the system to confirm the skill status. Sky Shadow Step and Breaking the Sky Palm have both reached the state of pure fire. On the competition stage, the referee announced the battle. Li Badian was the first to be in trouble. The long stick in his hand was swept with a fierce air, and the shadow of the stick was pressing like a mountain torrent. Lin Tianyi did not avoid it, and suddenly his body shook, turning into a swift shadow, easily avoiding the attack. This is the power of the storm step. It rolled to Li Badian's body like a wind, and a burst of energy condensed into the palm of his palm. Breaking the air! He shouted softly, and the palm of his palm teared the air and hit the opponent's shoulder. Li Badian was surprised and rushed to slam the force, but was shocked by this force and took a few steps back, and a flash of accident happened on his face. How is it possible for you? He roared, and then counterattacked, and the stick technique came out in a ring, with fierce moves. As the battle entered the white heat, Lin Tianyi felt the spirit inside his body surging like a tide. He secretly activated the combat force multiplication mode and set a 5-fold increase. In an instant, the power surged, his movements faster and his palm techniques became more powerful. After libation's stick, he slammed out with a palm. The aura of breaking the air palm turned into a crazy rage under the amplitude, hitting libation's lower abdomen, lifting him out and smashing him on the guardrail on the Taiwan side. The audience burst into a shock, and no one expected that the decision would fall like this. Liban got up, his eyes flashing with a ruthless look. He originally set up a trap and planned to pretend to be a mistake in the competition to attract Lin Tianyi to the point of being aware of it, but he did not expect that his opponent's strength would exceed expectations. "Don't think it's over." He gritted his teeth and secretly launched a secret, and a red light emerged from his body surface, enhancing his attack power. The stick shadows rolled down like a rainstorm. Lin Tianyi was calm and used the flexibility of Sky Shadow Step to hide. Every time he avoided, he was as relaxed as if he was playing against the opponent. Seizing the opportunity, he started to double again, this time increasing the 10 times, and his palm power exploded like a landslide. A palm faced libation's stick shadow, and his air scattered everywhere, shaking the entire tabletop slightly. Libation's arms were numb, and his long stick flew out. He was shocked and fell heavily to the ground. Lin Tianyi took a step forward, with the remaining squid in his palm, which was pressing against his opponent's atmosphere. "Is this your ability?" His voice was calm, with no movement. The disciples on the scene were stunned, and their original ridicule turned into shocking verbs. "That madman actually suppressed Liban?" Just as the competition was approaching the end of the game, Lin Tianyi felt that the spirit in his body reached the point of boundary. The barrier of the 7-layer quenching layer was relaxed in this series of fierce battles. He grabbed this head, accelerated his breathing and broke through to the 8-layer quenching layer in an instant. The power was as full as a spring. He slapped it out with his last palm and knocked Liban down. The referee announced that Lin Tianyi had won the victory, and the audience was filled with thunderous voices. Many people began to discuss the dispute, thinking that he was a black horse. After the competition, Lin Tianyi walked off the stage, wiped the sweat from the magnitude, and his eyes accidentally swept to the battle area beside him. There, Su Qing was standing quietly, wearing a long ice blue robe, with a flash of interest in her eyes. "Your body movement is good." She approached, her voice cold and elegant. "If you have the opportunity, how about you discuss together?" Lin Tianyi was slightly stunned and agreed. This unexpected invitation made him realize that the door of the inner door was already close. He put away the system panel, joined the team of the disciples of the Shang dynasty, and was ready to welcome the next sect exam. The outside trial continued, and other competitions were in full swing. Lin Tianyi was adjusting the team, and his spirit gradually became stable, waiting for the next challenge to arrive. The daily training of the sect was still the same as usual, and his mood had quietly changed. After Lin Tianyi left the competition platform, he quickly transferred his thoughts to Su Qing's invitation. The training ground of the sect is located in the open forest area on the back mountain. It is surrounded by ancient trees and is full of spirit. It is an ideal place for disciples to discuss. He followed his memory and felt a sense of anticipation in his heart on the way, which would be a good way to verify his own progress. When they arrived, Su Qing had been waiting for a long time. She wore a long frosted white dress, and an icy crystal waistband was surrounded by her waist, and her atmosphere was as cold as a mountain spring. When she saw Lin Tianyi, she pointed slightly. "Since you are here, let's start." "Don't hold on, I want to see your true abilities." Lin Tianyi smiled back, stood in the field, silently moving his spirit inside his body, and quietly emerged from the system. On the interface, the status of Sky Shadow Step and Breaking the Sky Palm is clearly displayed. He decided to focus on defense first and try to explore the opponent's deep penis. After the competition, Su Qing took extraordinary action. A group of dark blue light condensed into her palm, and instantly turned into an ice blade, directly striking Lin Tianyi's vital points. Her moves are covered with winter snow, quietly lit up. Lin Tianyi shook his body, using the agility of Sky Shadow Step to turn into a flowing figure, easily overtaking the attack. Immediately, he took a backhand, and the power of breaking the air palm was like anger, and the palm style teared the air, forcing Su Qing to retreat several steps. Su Qing's eyes were slightly condensed, and she didn't expect Lin Tiany's offense and defense to be so harmonious. She popped her fingers and released several icy channels, blocking the space around her, and trying to limit his movements. Lin Tiany felt a nervous breath, and was not panicked, and secretly activated the War Force multiplication mode, setting the increase to 3 times. The power suddenly appeared, and he shuttled through the ice like a rapid wind, with a bursting rhythm at each step. The palm technique came out in a ring, disintegrating the defense layer of Su Qing. The battle became more and more intense, and the two of them came and went, and the spirit waves burst out between the collision of moves. Su Qing's ice-based method was unscathed. For a while, the cold air spread, and thin ice was raised on the ground. Try to draw Lin Tiany's actions. But with the blessing of the system, his body movements were abnormal and he could always turn into a barbaric moment at the critical moment. Grasping a broken spot, he suddenly exploded. Breaking the sky palm turned into a crazy battle under the amplitude, hitting Su Qing's protective light curtain, shocking her several feet away. "No, your palm technique has a thrust of destruction." Su Qing gasped for a while, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. She rarely saw such a rival, and a small amount of recognition rose in her heart. Lin Tiany didn't say much, continued to suppress the situation, leaving a sense of restraint, and did not want to hurt the other party. After 10 rounds, Su Qing finally changed her energy. She slapped her sleeves and dissipated the ice. "It's over, your strength has exceeded expectations. This kind of exchange allows me to see your potential." Lin Tiany held his palm and stood up, his body calmly down. He responded, "Thank you for your meticulous skills, which has given me a lot of excitement." This decision not only verified his progress, but also invisibly narrowed the distance between the two. Su Qing turned his head lightly. "If you have the opportunity in the future, we can communicate more." As soon as the voice fell, a sudden hurried alarm sound came from outside the scene, breaking the silence. Outside the main gate of the sect, strange changes suddenly arise. A group of invaders in black robes came through the air. They were breathing coldly, as if they were from the secret evil sect. The magic weapon in their hands shone with flashes of light and directly hindering the training ground. The leader was a tall man with a ruthless look in his eyes. "Today, we are here to take the treasures of the sect. Whoever dares to stop them will be dead." As he finished speaking, he released a dark magical atmosphere in his hand, and instantly swallowed up countless guardian disciples, and he was always in a mess. Lin Tiany and Su Qing met each other and joined the battle immediately without saying anything. There were many invaders, their attacks were as fierce as the tide, the magic spread and corrupted the surrounding spirits. Su Qing took the lead in moving, and the ice and frost formed the boundary in the palm of his palm, preventing the enemy from moving forward. "Join quickly!" She shouted loudly, released a series of ice blades, and tied up several men in black robe. Lin Tiany knew the situation was urgent and quickly doubled the combat force, which directly increased to 5 times this time. The power exploded like a torrent. He stepped forward and Shadow Step turned into a swift phantom, flashing into the enemy group. With the palm blowing out, the power of breaking the sky palm is like a mountain collapse and the earth breaks, shaking the two invaders out. The man in black robes saw the situation and fought back against the attack. He refused to retreat and turned around, his palm shadow connected, shattering their defenses. Su Qing's ice-type technique is perfectly combined with Lin Tiany's palm technique. Her ice-sealed enemy moves, so he takes the opportunity to perform a heavy blow. After repeated attacks, the enemy was in trouble. The leader saw that the action was not good, and roared, released a stronger magic, and tried to swallow the two people. Lin Tiany felt the spirit inside his body, grasped this pressure, accelerated the rate of movement, and the barrier of the 8-layer quenched body began to move. "Don't let them succeed," Su Qing said softly, and the ice blade in her hand fell like rain, helping Lin Tiany block the enemy's retreat. He suddenly exploded, pushing the increase in combat to the extreme, and faced the attack of the leader with one palm. the air collided, causing the surrounding trees to shake, and the magic was torn apart. The leader of the man vomited blood and retreated. Lin Tianyi took advantage of the victory to chase him and finally patted him to the ground with a palm. The crisis gradually resolved, and other disciples also came to support and disperse the remaining enemies. Lin Tianyi gasped and closed his palms. The spirit inside his body had broken through to the 9 levels of quenching, and his power was filled with water. Su Qing approached, with a little more respect in his eyes. Your response has changed so quickly that he has saved many people. We have good cooperation, and we may have more opportunities in the future. Lin Tianyi pointed his head and the new realm in his body gradually became stable. He looked around, the order of the sect was slowly recovering, and the disciples began to clean up the battlefield. They joined the team together, discussing future training and preparing for the next challenge. The daily life of the sect seems to be normal, but in this incident, more groups have quietly gathered. Lin Tianyi stood outside the sect hall, his eyes swept over the ground with magical atmosphere, and the new power in his heart gradually calmed down like the flow of rivers. He took a deep breath of spirit and felt that the 9-level state of quenching had taken root, and the inner veins were wider than before. Su Qing was beside him, tidying up her sleeves lightly, and a burst of fatigue was shining between her eyebrows, which could not hide her resoluteness. This invasion allows us to see the threat of the foreign enemy, she said. You are really admirable in your progress. We have to seize the time and improve our strength. Before the voice was finished, a low drum sound came from the entrance of the sect, breaking the silence around. Several strange monks wearing robes entered the visual line. They were steady and imposing. The leader was a middle-aged man with a concealed family seal engraved on his head, and his eyes were as sharp as a geek. I heard something was wrong here. He opened his mouth, and his voice was like a gold-iron fight. We, the Hokkien family, cannot allow outsiders to destroy our interests. The invader was our vassal, and if it failed, it should be your responsibility. The man glanced at Lin Tianyi, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Especially you, boy. Did you hear that you were extraordinary? Just so let me try your ability. Lin Tianyi had a slight eyebrows, and his inner self-warning was raised. He quietly opened the system interface and quickly adjusted the combat force to 7 times. The inner spirit in his body instantly expanded like a tide, and the power was filled with almost overflowing. He didn't pay much for his lips and tongue, but only pointed his head to signal Su Qing to prepare. Come on, he said, don't waste time. The man was not willing to be outdone, and a purple and black spirit condensed from his palm, which instantly turned into a violent spiral and rushed in. The moves are like a mountain collapse, carrying the secrets of the Mingyue family, and they are trying to swallow Lin Tianyi without any pressure. Su Qing reacted quickly. Her fingers bounced lightly and released a layer of frost barrier, which temporarily blocked the attack. I'll block his retreat, you'll be focused on attacking. She reminded in a low voice, saying that she would make a decision. Lin Tianyi shook his figure, using the wonderfulness of the scarlet steppe to turn into a blurred stream of light, gently avoiding the spiraling range. With the blessing of 7 times the war, his speed was like a flash of lightning, and every step was accompanied by a bursting impact, and his palm technique immediately followed. Breaking the air palm became more domineering with this increase. With a palm, the air was swept out like a torrent of rolling, tearing the air around it, forcing the man to retreat several steps. The man was shocked and rushed to move his body to protect his true energy, but he failed to completely resolve the fierce force. The battle quickly turned white and hot. The man deserved to be the stronger one. With his fingers connected, he summoned several spiritual talismans, turning into sharp blades, and blocking Lin Tianyi's surroundings. Su Qing saw the state. Ice crystals condensed in the palm of her palm, and waves of cold currents were released, turning the blade into ice slag, giving Lin Tianyi a manufacturing opportunity. Lin Tianyi grabbed the gap and stepped forward, his body movements as flexible as a wild wind. He hit 3 palms in succession. The power layer of breaking the sky palm was added, and each hit was like a thunderous slam, which shocked the man's blood. The man roared, vigorously improved his realm, and tried to suppress Lin Tianyi with pure spirit. But Lin Tianyi's system has long made him far more like a person. His breathing and flowing inwards are like flowing water, and his palm shadow is indefinitely connected, which gradually disintegrates the man's defense. In a head-on collision, Lin Tianyi's palm directly penetrated the man's protective light curtain, shaking him out, and bleeding from his mouth when he landed on the ground. Su Qing took advantage of the opportunity to add a few ice blades and block the man's movements in the end. "How could you have such power?" the man gasped, a flash of fear flashing in his eyes. He took out a treasure and a jade pendant flashing with faint light from it, which seemed to be a thing of the world of the Necromun family. "Want to take it away? Get me off first," he roared, injecting spirit, and the jade pendant burst out with dazzling light, turning into a boundary, attempting to counterattack. Lin Tianyi refused to retreat and pushed the battle to the extreme limit by activating the maximum increase in the system. The power was like a mountain torrent, and he had a palm, and breaking the sky palm and speedy shadow step were perfectly combined. His figure flashed into the inner part of the boundary like a ghost, and his palm power directly hit the jade pendant. The light shattered and the treasure fell from the man's hand. Lin Tianyi reached out and grabbed it, and instantly felt a pure spirit injected into his body. This energy is like nectar pouring on the top, making his realm more stable, obstructing and quenching the edges of 10 layers. The man saw that dashing had left, and the next ruthless words fled with the wolf. Lin Tianyi held his palm and stood up, his spirit and his body calmed down, and a sense of enlightenment emerged in his heart. This battle not only allowed him to verify his strength, but also drew new weapons from the jade pendant, as if he had opened a door to a higher level. Su Qing approached and looked lighter. "Your way of fighting is getting more and more harmonious, and our cooperation is more tacit. With this treasure, the challenge will be easier in the future." Together, they handed the jade pendant to the elders of the clan to discuss the next plan. The order within the sect gradually recovered, and everyone began to prepare to visit the nearby ancient halls, where there was a stronger mechanism. Lin Tianyi felt that the power in his body was still increasing slowly, his heart was filled with enthusiasm for progress, and his relationship with Su Qing's partners became increasingly close. Everything in front of them seems to be just another stop on their rise. Lin Tianyi and Su Qing left the main hall of the sect, and walked in a hurry and in an orderly manner, moving along the winding mountain path towards the ancient road. The sect leader just finished his negotiation and decided to let them explore the ruins covered by the sect, which was said to be hidden in ancient sects, which could help people break through the bottle. Lin Tianyi held the bag tightly around his waist, and there was also a jade pendant pie from the hidden moon family, bringing a constant sense of warmth, reminding him of the source of his power. Su Qing followed her, and her eyes swept across the forests around her and said lightly, "This trip may be difficult, but with your system in our arms, our efforts are quite good. Remember, we will be decisive when things happen." They quickly arrived at the entrance of the harbor, a stone arch half hidden under the vines, with blurred runes engraved on the lintel, radiating Chen's spiritual pressure. Stepping into it, the air became solemn, and a hidden power surged from all directions. Lin Tianyi felt very alert. He silently recited the system instructions and adjusted the combat force to 8 times. The spirit inside his body was moving like a rushing waterfall, full of explosive power. The inner passage was narrow, and the wall was covered with machine tiles. As soon as we stepped forward, a trap was suddenly activated, and the stone thorns rushed out of the ground, piercing them both. Su Qing reacted quickly. She flipped her palm and released a layer of ice fog, forming the stone thorn into crystal icicles, giving Lin Tianyi a chance to rebel. "There are more hidden ways to hide the selves on the left," she reminded, calm and calm. Lin Tianyi did not lose his time, his body was as flashing as the rain, using the essence of the story of the swords to easily avoid the surrounding attacks. With 8 times the war, every step of his step was thunderously slammed. He swung out with a palm, and breaking the air palm turned into a violent wave, shattering a talisman in front of him. The debris scattered, revealing a corridor leading to the deep, accompanied by a deep sea of thorns. After going deeper, they encountered the first wave of guardians, several ancient puppets. These mechanical creatures flashed with blue light, and their limbs were full of ancient scribble. They operated mechanically quickly, with both arms dancing with the spiritual blades, blocking the retreat. Su Qing quickly opened the distance. She swung her fingers and summoned a net of frost and hua to reduce the movement of the puppet. "I'll hold them back, you'll find a chance to recreate the core," she shouted. Lin Tianyi pointed his head, and the amplitude of the system made his perception extremely sensitive. He locked the core part of one of the puppets, his body movements were like crazy, and his palm technique was smashed down 3 times in succession. The power of breaking the sky palm is added, and each palm is destroyed like a mountain collapse and cracked the earth, tearing the puppet's armor apart, and sparks burst out from the inner spirit crystal. The battle entered the whitening and heat, and another puppet launched a counterattack, spraying out the burning flames. Lin Tianyi did not avoid it, and with 8 times the defense, he took a blow, and his inner spirit turned like a torrent, minimizing the damage. He slapped his backhand, and his palm was like a rainstorm, swallowing the flames and shaking the puppet out. Su Qing was unable to miss the opportunity to see her. She released a cold wave, which destroyed the remaining puppets, allowing Lin Tianyi to relax and make a fatal blow. For a moment, the venue returned to peace and tranquility, leaving only the dead bones scattered all over the ground. They continued to move forward, and the depth was even more steep, with a boundary barrier blocking the way, and the inner side was flickering against the silhouette of Baoguang. The boundary is full of spiritual environments, and anyone who approaches will trigger a continuous reaction. Lin Tianyi took a deep breath and activated the maximum increase in the system, pushing the battle to 9 times, and the inner strength expanded like a volcanic spray. He whispered, "Let us break this barrier." Su Qing cooperated without any connection, and she moved the ice-like power to weaken the edge of the boundary. Lin Tianyi seized the opportunity, condensed pure spirit in his palm, and burst out with a blow. Breaking the sky palm perfectly merged with the system amplitude, and the air broke the boundary like a rapid wind and rain, revealing a hidden stone platform. An ancient bead was placed on the stone platform, with pure spirit flowing on the surface, as if the sacred spirit contained ancient essence. Lin Tianyi stepped forward and touched. In an instant, a vast amount of energy was injected into his veins, and the system interface flashed, prompting that the upgrade was successful. His cultivation efficiency instantly improved, his skill power doubled, and his realm was stable within 10 levels of quenching, and even the doors of the foundation were hidden. Su Qing said in surprise, "This spirit is pure and pure, your progress is really amazing." Lin Tianyi felt the change in his body. Every time he moved, the power was even more scattered. He tried to snatch a palm, and the palm wind actually carried the golden light of the silk, which was far more powerful than before. They quickly left the stone platform to avoid causing more connections. On the way back to the exit, a small group of hiding soul guardians emerged, and these spirits were as difficult as shadows, trying to attack with a sensible attack. Lin Tianyi's combat power instantly rose to the extreme limit with the power of the newly upgraded system. His figure flashed like a ghost. Sky Shadow Step and Breaking the Sky Palm were combined into a body, and several palms were continuously shot out, tearing the soul into nothingness. Su Qing puts an ice blade on the side wings to completely remove the threat. After the battle ended, they smiled at each other, and the tacit understanding between their partners deepened. After walking out of the road, Lin Tianyi and Su Qing returned to the sect along the mountain road, and the spirit in their bodies was still slowly merging. They discussed this harvest and planned the next renovation arrangement, with a steady pace, as if this journey was just a natural scene on their way forward. The lights in the sect were already in sight, waiting for the new news they brought back. Lin Tianyi and Su Qing stepped into the gate of the sect. It was already dark, and the lights in front of the door were swaying, casting a layer of light and shadow. They handed the treasure beads they brought back from the sea to the elders and briefly reported the results of the investigation, but they did not expect that the atmosphere was unusually tight. As the distance travels, the horse of the Necromlin family has quietly approached, carrying a vicious killing. They join forces with several vassals to point directly to the key points of the sect. The news of trying to get back the Jade Pendant's phantom has long been revealed, causing this sudden storm. Su Qing looked around and felt the enemy's eyebrow. They came too fast, it seems that they had already predicted it. She reminded in a low voice. Lin Tianyi pointed at her head, and a sense of determination broke out in her heart. He operated silently, increasing his combat power to the extreme, and his inner spirit was as strong as a tide, ready to fight. The leader of the Journey family is Li Badian, the self-conscious genius. He brought a group of subordinates and entered the sect's area with a strong spirit, holding a spirit soldier, shouting, "Lin Tianyi, hand over the things. Otherwise, you will be able to fly in the sect today." The battle exploded in an instant, and the team led by Li Badian rushed in like a tide. Their attacks were incomparable, and the spirit swords and shadows intertwined to form a network. Lin Tianyi refused to retreat and turned the perfect fusion of the system, breaking the Sky Palm and Sky Shadow Step into one. His body was as flashy as a flash, and every step was filled with magnificent impact, easily flashing the enemy's first wave of attacks. Su Qing quickly followed, and the ice spirit condensed in her palm, released a layer of frost curtain, blocking the enemy's retreat, making their movements go bad. "I'll come to the control field, you'll make a breakthrough," she shouted, her words as sure as a rock. Li Badian saw this and was furious. He danced the high-level spirit drama in his hand and headed straight for Lin Tianyi. "Boy, don't think that if you have some energy, you can turn the world upside down," he roared, his breath as if he was swollen. Lin Tianyi sneered, and the war reached the peak with the blessing of the system. He swung out with a palm. The power of breaking the air palm exploded like a mountain collapse, tearing the air apart and scattering Li Badian's breath. Then, his figure swayed, and Sky Shadow Step swept over with a shadow, instantly approaching Li Badian's body. 3 palms were smashed down, and each palm contained a pure spirit, which shocked the blood of his opponent. The enemy around saw that they joined the war team and their spirit skills were unscathed, with flame sprays and metal chains. Su Qing was calm and her fingers were lightly lit, and the ice blade fell like rain, plucking the enemy's attacks one by one, creating an excellent opportunity for Lin Tianyi. Lin Tianyi grabbed the time and shuttled through the spirit like a ghost. He used 9 times the strength to drive, breaking the sky palm. His palm style carried a cold metal light, flying an elite from the Moon family out, and then turned around to deal with another enemy. The man tried to fight back with a spirit, but was easily resolved by Lin Tianyi's footwork. He hit the key point with one palm, making him feel proud. The battle was in chaos, and Li Badian was not willing to be outdone. He swallowed the secret medicine and burst out stronger aura, and the sword light rushed down like a heavy rain. Lin Tianyi was head-on, and with the system's defense increase, he minimized the damage pressure and immediately counterattacked. His palm technique and foot technique are perfectly combined, and each strike is like a thunder bomb, shattering the enemy's defense line. Su Qing replenished her wings from the side, and she released a cold wave, trapping Li Badian in the ice prison, giving Lin Tianyi a chance to replenish a fatal blow. Finally, Lin Tianyi's palm came out, and his palm power was like a huge wave and swallowed everything. He shook Li Badian back several steps and vomited blood and fell to the ground. The enemy saw that the great power had gone, and they retreated, and the team of the Necromlin family wolves withdrew. The elders of the sect came and witnessed the success of this scene and couldn't help but praise Lin Tianyi's strength. Lin Tianyi put away his fighting power, and his body was stable and stable. He felt that the realm had approached the base level. Su Qing approached him and pointed, "I've kept it this time. We have to make preparations in the next step." They cleaned the battle together, discussed how to integrate this experience, and walked from a sect to the inner hall of the sect, preparing for the next renovation arrangements. The Ning of the sect gradually recovered, and everyone began to get busy, as if this was just another stop on their way forward. Lin Tianyi and Su Qing entered the inner hall of the sect. The waiters around them were busy cleaning up the war scene, and there was still a faint smell of blood in the air. They submitted the jade pendant pie obtained from the Necromlin family to the elders and briefly reported the battle. The elders pointed their heads and saw a solemn look in their eyes. "Your performance exceeded expectations, and this crisis can be resolved in time," said an old man with white hair. but the world of immortal cultivation is illusory. Next, you need to strengthen your cultivation. There is a trial tower deep in the sect, which can help you dig your potential. Su Qing clenched her fists lightly, her eyes fixed. We need this opportunity. She turned to Lin Tianyi. The last battle exposed our shortcomings, let's go together. Lin Tianyi smiled slightly, and a sense of enthusiasm for moving forward surged in her heart. He operated the system silently, examining the hidden power. The system interface flashes in the brain, showing new advanced options. Activate the advanced function and double the combat power to 10 times. His mind moved slightly, and his spirit rushed into his body like a vast tide. It was always stuck in the edge of the foundation and the walls shattered like thin ice. They and the elders walked through the corridor and came to the trial tower deep in the zodiac. This ancient tower stands like a mountain, with mysterious runes engraved on the surface, radiating a strong spirit. The elder explained, there are higher-level martial arts in the tower waiting for you to challenge, but you must pass the test of the guardian. Lin Tianyi took the lead in, and Su Qing was tightened afterwards. The space inside the tower was twisted, and they quickly faced the first-level experiment, a group of elite guardians waiting in the center. These figures were spiritual projects of the former strong men of the sect, holding spirit soldiers, and extraordinary spirits. It seems to be a good opportunity. Lin Tianyi said softly. He had already felt the blessing of the system. The force of the war had increased 10 times, and the inner spirit of his body was moving freely like a swift torrent. He chose a new technique called Sky Thunder Fist, and the system's second learning function instantly incorporated it into his moves. Su Qing is not inferior. She adjusts the ice spirit and prepares for assists. I block their actions, you are the main attacker. She said, speaking coldly and decisively. The guards launched an attack, and the first spirit slammed out a long metal gun, and the gun shadow swept over like a rapid wind. Lin Tianyi's body shook, and 10 times the combat power made his speed extremely fast. He easily flicked it, and he immediately punched it out. The Thunder Fist carries the power of thunder, and the fist style tears the air and shakes the spirit out. Su Qing's palm condensed into frost, and released a cold current, shattering the guardians around him in place. The opportunity is here, she shouted. Lin Tianyi grabbed the machine and smashed it down 3 times in succession. Each blow contained pure thunder and electricity power, shattering the guardian's defense line. The battle became more and more intense, and another guard released a fire spirit, and the flames rolled over like a wild wave. Su Qing responded quickly, her fingers popped, and the ice blade fell like rain, suppressing the flames. Lin Tianyi took advantage of the opportunity to move forward, and the system's defense increase made him unable to hit. He rushed up, and his fist wrapped in lightning and hit the core guardian with lightning. The guardian tried to fight back with a spirit, and the light of the storm was flashed, which was resolved by Lin Tianyi's quick footwork. He punched his heart, and his spirit exploded, causing the guard to completely defeat him. Just as they thought the trial was about to end, a cold sound came from deep inside the tower. Boys, can you dare to stay here? Could it be that you will die? It turned out that the envoy of the Yuying sect, one of the powerful people in the world, came by a message. This person had contacted the Hokage family and had long been resentful of Lin Tianyi's rise. He was carrying several elites, holding a dark light treasure. Will Libation's defeat not let you remember? The messenger mocked, pointing straight at Lin Tianyi. Lin Tianyi laughed instead of anger, and his 10-fold blessing made him full of confidence. It's just right to try the new martial arts. He strode forward, Su Qing followed, and the two formed a tacit understanding of the battle. She first launched an attack, and the frost prison trapped the messenger and the rest, while Lin Tianyi was like a tiger coming out of the trap. Tian's Thunder Fist perfectly merged with the previous footwork, and each shot was filled with the power of destruction. The first place was hit by Lin Tianyi's chest with a punch, and his spirit disintegrated. When the messenger saw the situation, he roared and the sword light was like a rainstorm, but Lin Tianyi's defense layer was added to easily resolve the counterattack. Su Qing put his sword on his wings from the side, and she released a cold wave, killing the messenger's way out. Lin Tianyi grabbed the breaking wire, and his punch from 10 times his combat power was like a thunder bomb, directly hitting the envoy's vital point, knocking him back several steps. The messenger vomited blood and fell to the ground, and saw the Lord's death north and dispersed. Lin Tianyi stood up with his fist, and his body was stable and he felt that the foundation level had improved smoothly. As the spirit treasures in the trial tower appear, a glorious spirit crystal appears before my eyes, containing pure energy, which can help me to improve my cultivation. Su Qing picked up the spirit crystal and handed it over to Lin Tianyi. Now, our strength has reached another level, she said. The two left the tower together, and the elders were already waiting outside and took them back to the inner hall to discuss the next plan. They walked around to exchange new experiences, with a powerful pace, ready to face deeper challenges in the world of immortal cultivation. The daily movements of the sect gradually returned to a calm state, and everyone continued to devote themselves to the cultivation. After walking out of the test tower, Lin Tianyi, Su Qing and Su and his elders walked through the winding corridor and returned to the inner hall of the Zoman. There was a faint slight scent of spirit in the air, and the servants were calmly organizing the utensils. Everything seemed to have returned to peace. The elder brought them into a closed secret room. The light inside was soft and the wall was filled with ancient talismans. The elders signaled them to sit down, and a serious look appeared on their faces. Your performance in the tower exceeded expectations, but the matter is not over yet. He spoke slowly. The leader of the Gobyo sect has appeared. He is approaching our sect with his energy to the messenger's defeat at Peking University. To understand this problem, you must be prepared. Su Qing's eyebrows frowned slightly. She held the spirit crystal in her hand tightly, and her eyes flashed with a sense of determination. We won't retreat, she said, her voice as clear as a cold spring in the mountains. Lin Tianyi pointed to Echo. His mind moved slightly, and adjusted the system interface. The hidden power surged again, and the system prompted the flash: check the new energy source, activate the advanced function, and increase the combat power to 20 times. He shook his heart, and his spirit instantly rushed like a wild wave. The barriers in his body easily collapsed, and his realm was approaching the golden elixir stage. Holding the spirit crystal, he incorporated it into his body, strengthening the power of Sky Thunder Fist, and the original thunder power in boxing became more pure, accompanied by a biting shining light. There was a warning outside the door of the secret room, and the defense method of the clan had been touched. The elder stood up and said, "They are here, you go and fight. Remember, the safety of the sect is at the first line." Lin Tianyi and Su Qing quickly left the inner hall and rushed outside the sect door. A group of black-robed figures were approaching, and the leader of the Yueying sect was headed. A thin man, holding a curved shadow blade, exuding a suppressed killing on his body. There are numerous guardians around him, each of which emits a strong atmosphere. "Boy, dare to hurt my subordinates, today is your death." The leader sneered, and the shadow blade made a series of shadows and rushed in. Lin Tianyi was not evasive, and his 20 times the combat power made his body as stable as a rock. He strode forward, and his fist condensed the reinforced Tiany Thunder Fist. With a punch, the lightning burst out, like a divine destruction from the sky, tearing the leader's attack into a crack. Su Qing attacked from the side, and her palm gathered the power of Ice Spirit, released a layer of frost curtain, and sealed the enemy's protection movement. "I'll press them, you'll be dedicated to the boss," she shouted, her words clear and clear. The battle instantly entered the white heat, and the head's protective test picture suddenly burst out from the frost curtain, but Su Qing's spirit was like a layer of cold waves, trapping them in place. Lin Tianyi seized the opportunity, and his footwork was as fast as a storm. He punched 3 times in succession, each hit with a force of 20 times increase, and the power of thunder and electricity crushed the enemy's defense. The head roared angrily, and the shadow blade turned into countless virtual shadows, aiming to surround Lin Tianyi. However, Lin Tianyi's defense had already improved. He changed his body and Tiany Thunder Fist counterattacked, shaking the shadows away, and the fist style hit the head's chest, causing him to retreat several steps. As the scene continued, Su Qingyan's ice attack continued to weaken the enemy. Her fingers bounced lightly, and the ice blade shot out like an arrow, penetrated the vital points of a guard. Lin Tianyi was the leader of the army and felt that the power in his body was as endless as a torrent. 20 times the force made every move him like destroying a city and pulling a village. The first leader had a bad experience, and he suddenly released the dark spirit, trying to swallow everything around him. Lin Tianyi refused to retreat and turned around. The enhanced Tiany Thunder Fist was wrapped in pure energy, and one punch penetrated the heart, and the spirit exploded, tore the magic apart. The head spit out a mouthful of black blood, and his breathing was greatly reduced. Su Qing grabbed the war machine, and she gathered all her energy, released a cold wave, and engulfed the leader's retreat. Lin Tianyi followed in, his fist exploded like thunder, hitting the opponent's vital point again. The leader's protection will be invented and stormed. Lin Tianyi took advantage of the situation and beat them one by one. Finally, the headman fell to the ground, and Shadow Blade let his hand off. He stared at Lin Tianyi. You have such power." Before he finished speaking, he turned into a black smoke and dispersed. The battle ended, and the sect's gate regained silence. Lin Tianyi put away his boxing, and the spirit in his body stabilized. He felt that his realm had broken through and moved towards a higher level. Su Qing walked forward and looked lightly. "We're holding on again." The two returned to the inner hall together. The eldest son had been waiting, with a look of relief. "As the crisis is resolved, your strength has given the sect hope. Next, there is more to our negotiations." They sat down and began to discuss future renovation plans, heading towards a longer journey. Lin Tianyi and Su Qing sat in the inner hall, and the old man's eyes showed unwavering determination. The rune light inside the room jumped slightly, reflecting their tired and full of fighting faces. Although the threat of the Eagle Shadow sect has been eliminated, the chaos in the world of immortal cultivation has not yet subsided. The eldest son opened his mouth, his voice as bright as a bell. Libation's traitor led the remaining power of the leader and is gathering in the northern wilderness of the great northern wasteland, ignoring the authority of the sect. You need to integrate the resources of our sect to eliminate this problem in the end. Lin Tianyi pointed his head and felt a sense of pride in his heart. He operated the system silently, and the interface quietly appeared, checked the energy core of the sect, and the final evolution was initiated. The upper limit of the war was broken through, reaching a 50-fold increase. A pure energy was injected into the body like a tide, and the Olympics of Tiany Thunder Fist instantly soared, and the fist intention turned into a violent arc, bursting out unprecedented rays. Su Qing held a new spirit core, and her palm condensed into the layered ice frost realm. Her expression was as cold as snow. "I have cultivated the ice elbow skills to integrate with your strength." The two quickly assigned tasks. Lin Tianyi was responsible for the main attack, and she controlled the help of the lock. The sect's essence power was quickly gathered, and the old man activated the spirit instrument, providing top-grade magic treasures and spirit stone supplements. Lin Tianyi integrated these resources into the system. His combat power was like a mountain torrent, and a stable state entered the Yuan dynasty. They led their teams straight to the northern wasteland, rushing to the wind along the way, and their air was as strong as a rainbow. On the wasteland, the wind was clamoring. Li Badian was waiting with a group of traders, covered with dark magic, holding a giant axe, and laughing. "Lin Tianyi, how dare you come to die in this vein? Today I will be in a snowy state." The battle exploded so quickly. Lin Tianyi was the first to launch. 50 times the force of fighting made his body as stable as a mountain. He swept out Sky Thunder Fist, and the arc of the electric arc was roaring like a mad dragon, tearing the air and sweeping Li Badian. He fought back against the axe with his hand, and the magic turned into a barrier, but it instantly shattered under Lin Tianyi's fist. Li Badian was shocked for several feet, and he was bleeding from his mouth, and he shouted, "Impossible! How could you be so powerful?" Su Qing took action from the side, and she swung her fingers lightly. Bingling's absolute skill released countless cold spots, blocking the traitors' retreat, trapping them in the boundary, and turning them into ice sculptures. During the battle, Lin Tianyi's attack was like a rainstorm, and each punch brought a breakthrough in the air, shattering the enemy's defense layer. He felt that the power in his body was ineffective, and the increase in the system made his movements as fast as a flash, and he beat a traitor leader to smoke. The ice spirit of Su Qing spread like a tide, and the cold wave gathered in her palm, squeezing Li Beixian's magic, making her moves swell. "Concentrate the fire," she shouted, her words clear and decisive. Lin Tianyi seized the opportunity and made 3 consecutive punches. The arc and the ice frost intertwined, and a huge shocking sound broke out, forcing Li Beixian to the extreme. Li Beixian was not willing to be outdone, so he released his final move, and the magic condensed into a giant phantom, roaring and roaring. Lin Tianyi did not avoid it, and the system prompted him to say, "The energy is locked, and the release is extremely loud." He condensed all his energy and punched him out. The thunder fist turned into the light of the sky, tearing the giant beast apart, and knocking Li Beixian into pieces with an axe. The traitors saw the collapse of the situation and fled. Su Qing's cold wave immediately caught up and sealed them as many times as possible. The war quickly subsided, and only the cold wind remained on the wasteland. Lin Tianyi stood up with his fist, and the power in his body was as stable as the ocean. He had reached the supreme realm and breathed like a vast starry sky. Su Qing approached, and a warm smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. "We did it." The two looked back at the past, from the ordinary misfortune outside the sect to the current overlord of the immortal world. Everything was as real as a dream. They returned to the sect, and the elder led the people to welcome him, proclaiming Lin Tianyi as the supreme emperor of Tiany and conquering the whole world. Within the sect, the lights are in full swing, and people are celebrating the arrival of a new era. Lin Tianyi and Su Qing stood shoulder to shoulder, sharing this glory without any honor. The deep affection between each other is like an immortal spirit, and forever in their hearts. From here, the world of immortal cultivation has entered a peaceful and prosperous era, and the chapters of the story are full of them.